So this is my attempt at making a video on how to create this face mask for the hearing impaired. I have been all along making the very standard basic 9x6 face mask with the 7-inch strap and then typically 3 pleats. So this has just pretty much been adapted from that. So what I start with is my fabric with the good sides facing each other. Pretty basic. And what I'm going to do that's a little bit different is I'm going to start and sew the straps in, you know, like you have seen done before. So basically these are going to go in here. I would do that on the other side too. And unlike typical, we leave a little bit of an opening here so you can turn it right side in or right side out. We're not going to do that this time, so I'm going to sew all the way around, sewing the straps in and actually closing it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so I have sewn the straps in, and as you can see, as I mentioned before, I actually closed the whole thing. So the next step is I have these templates here. I have a 4x2 here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it on here. I'm going to mark it. All right, and then in that square, I am going to place my next square. And then I will mark that, and I'll show you what comes next in just a moment. Okay, so you can see that I've drawn in my boxes and connected my corners here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this inner box out, and then I'm going to snip up these lines here. Oops. Not very good at filming and talking at the same time. All right, so let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so now you can see that I've created the little window. I cut out the inner rectangle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the ironing board. I'm going to iron each one of these flaps back. I'll do this side and do the same on the other side. And my other template that I have is a 5x3 piece of plastic that I use as my template, and I've taken what I believe to be 8mm vinyl that I just purchased today by the yard. It was only $2.97 for a yard. Vinyl from Walmart. It's the kind from the fabric department. It's the stuff that they have on the rolls. Right next to their cutting station. So I was able to find somebody and they cut me a yard, and it was only $2.97, I think. So that ultimately will get sewn in here. But first step is to fold this back. I'm gonna iron it back. Then I will turn it right side out using the window, and I'll come back and show you what comes next. Okay, so I've ironed my flaps back. So I'm going to now use this little window to turn it right side out. I'm going to pause while I do that because I can't do it with one hand. Okay, so I've turned it right side out, and then what I did was I just took it back to the ironing board and ironed it just one more time just to get a nice, you know, crisp sides, and to make sure these were in nice. So now the next step is to insert, and again I'm going to have a little trouble doing this with one hand, so I'm just going to pretend I'm slipping this in there, and we're going to just kind of center it in there. I've been using just a little bit of masking tape just to you know, once I have it slipped in there, just use a little bit of masking tape, just a tiny little bit to help hold it in place, and then I just end up sewing it right in there with the masking tape and all. So I tape it in there so it won't wiggle around. Then I take it over to the sewing machine and I sew the vinyl in. So I'm going to go ahead and go do that. Okay, so just a little sneak peek. I've slipped the vinyl in, and as I mentioned before, I just use a little piece of masking tape to hold it in place while I go ahead and go sew it. Okay, so you can see that I have now sewn the vinyl in. So now what I'm going to do, 3 pleats, a third pleat really doesn't quite seem to work here, so what I'm going to do is do 2 pleats on each side. So I'll go ahead and go do that and then show you the final product. Okay, so here it is. I put the pleats in, and so this is the final product. If I'm brave enough, maybe I will show a picture of me wearing it. Hope you find that helpful. Thank you. So I almost forgot some very important information. So when wearing this, it will tend to fog. So what I have seen recommended is you just take a damp paper towel with a little bit of Dawn dish soap, you know, rub it on, and then dry it real good, and that seems to help prevent it from fogging. I've given it a try and it really does seem to work. So that's it. So again, my fabric is I start with 9 by 6. The piece of vinyl that goes inside, I cut to 5 by 3. My window is a 4 by 2, but I have my 2 templates. I only actually cut out the 3.5 by 1.5, and you know, cut up the corners there and fold them back to create the 4 by 2 window. I hope that is all the information you need. I used the 7-inch strap, and again, you know, I guess this can be modified any way you want to. Thank you.